Some things should be said.
Or shouldn't.
Oh, it's on.
With Juan
and Sean. And welcome to the whole 18th episode of Oh, It's On!
With Juan
and Sean. And we're going to do a number 2 like thing again. Our second episode was our favorite It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia moments. So we're going to jump over to the Canadian version of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a little show called Trailer Park Boys. Juan, how did you get introduced to Trailer Park Boys?
I got introduced to Trailer Park Boys from you, Sean.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from you and what's his name, Zane, and then everybody else from the studio, from Band JJ.
That's interesting. I didn't know I was the one that brought that up to you. Here's a fun story. I met a girl online, and I went and hung out with her and her roommate, and they got high as balls, and they were watching Trailer Park Boys.
Did you get high with them?
No, I didn't. I was flight attendant at the time, and they do random drug tests, and I loved my job, and I didn't want to lose it. But I was like, why is this show so funny? Because they're dying. And then, so when I got home or I was flying around, I was like, let me look at this show again. And I started watching it, and I was like, oh my God, this show's actually really funny. And yeah, so some of our favorite moments. First off, we gotta talk. What are you laughing at?
Randy.
That's what I have written down. My first favorite moment, and every time I see this, I laugh. And it's when Randy and Lahey are living out of their car, and Randy has like tarp set up so he can shower under the tree. And then Ricky comes in, and he's causing chaos, and he says it's like his car, so he gets in the car and he drives off, and it rips off the curtains. And Lahey's like, he's all mad, and then he's like, and then the camera pans over to Randy, and he's rubbing his eyes. He's like, Mr. Lahey, I got soap in my eyes. He's just standing there naked, rubbing his eyes. I don't know. That's one thing that I can see at any time, and I will laugh.
The same goes for me when he's inside the bus. When we're in a bus and the ladies like sit in front of him, and they hit a bump and his belly just like just smacks him right in the face.
And you hear black. And he's like, I'm sorry. And that gif, like, I love sending that gift whenever people talk about politics I don't like. Like, nobody ever responds to it, but it's so funny because it's just, I'm sure they see it and they're like, what the F? And then that's it. Because it's just literally Randy's hanging onto the bus hook or handle at the top, and they hit the thing or they make a turn, and his stomach just goes right into her face.
Another scene that I liked about Randy was when he got shot. When he got shot in the belly, it went from one side and out the other. When they were robbing the bank, because they were dressed up as what do you call those armored truck drivers that pick up the money?
Was this in a movie?
Was it the movie or was it the show?
It was one of the movies.
Was it? But it was hilarious because he got like the bags, and over here's bah! You see like a blood explosion on one side, and another side is like my belly. It threw him in the car.
Oh, frig. It friggin' hurts. I'm sure. I gotta see the movie. I haven't really watched the movies a whole lot. Thank you, Netflix, for having it all.
Yeah.
Oh, so one of the episodes in the first season. We'll get off Randy for a minute because I got more written down about Randy. One of the episodes in the first season, what's Ricky and Julian are in Julian's car. Ricky's drunk and high, of course, and he's like, Julian, I'm always messing up, man. You're always there for me. Oh, I'd be in so much trouble if it weren't, like, he's drunk. He's like, I love you, buddy. Like, in that plutonium or whatever he says. He's like, I love you. And then he goes to hug him. And then Corey and Trevor walk up, and they see them hugging. And so they start telling everybody in the park that Ricky and Julian are gay. And Julian, of course, doesn't want this. And he's telling Ricky, you got to marry Lucy. You guys have been together for 8 years. You have a kid together. and you're not married, people are going to start thinking that's weird. And Ricky just goes, maybe I am gay. And like, he goes, oh, I'm gay. Like, and within 3 seconds, he goes from maybe I am gay to, oh, I'm gay. And Julian's like, you're not gay. It's like, but it's the only thing that makes sense, Julian. Like I love Ricky. Like, he's literally, I can't imagine Rob Wells being any other way in real life because he plays that character so
not
good.
only that, it's like he always orders his chicken chips. Give me some chicken chips.
Yeah.
What the hell are chicken chips?
You've never seen chicken chips?
No.
I don't. I've seen them. The Ruffles made one once.
Really?
But it might be a Canadian thing because they got maple syrup chips and stuff up there too.
Damn, maple syrup.
Yeah. So in one of the newer seasons, Ricky gets shot in the nutsack. I think by Mo, the Trinity's son, Trinity and Jacob's son. He gets shot. It's like, I don't know how the baby got the gun, but the baby's sitting on the steps to the trailer with the gun, shoots Ricky right in the nutsack. So Ricky is like, you gotta fix my nuts, and Bubbles wants to take him to the hospital, but Julian's like, you can't take him to the hospital, then how are you going to explain this? So they take him to Sam, because he used to be a veterinarian. And then Sam refuses to work. Or no, they get there, and I think they talked him out of it. So they go to the hospital, and then Julian. The thing I don't like about Julian is I don't know if he's ever being serious sometimes or not. But he's like, we can't go to the hospital because they're gonna do. The police will find out. And then Bubbles is like, well, what else are we gonna do? And then Julian's just like, you're right, Bubs. I'll support whatever you guys do. And Bubbles is like, oh, you're using reverse psychology. So they get Ricky, and Ricky's just cursing and swearing this whole time because he's got a bullet hole in his nutsack. So they get him back in the Jeep, and they drive back to Sam Losco's. I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like they're taking 2 hours to do something, and Ricky doesn't have this time, obviously. But that was one of my favorite moments, too. Did you see the season when Jim and Barb own the trailer park and they turn it into a retirement home?
Yeah.
And there's that scene, the Star Wars scene. Do you remember that one? Where Ricky and Jim.
Oh yeah, when he's holding on to the railing. He goes, I'm your father. Or Sadie's like, no, and he throws himself off.
Yeah. And he falls like 2 feet. Yes, yeah. So in that season, Jim believes he's Ricky's dad, and that's why he ends up telling him, "I'm your father." And then Ricky, who's playing Luke Skywalker, freaks out. And they did another one in that season it was the next season, because Colonel Dancer he's recovered. He's not he's not drinking anymore. And Jim comes up to him, and Jim's drunk, and he's like, I think he was a nurse or something, or no, not a nurse. He was working at the thrift store or the camping store. Oh gosh, I can't think. But and Jim and him are going back and forth, and they're yelling at each other. And then Colonel Dancer just grabs and goes, "Damn it, Jim! I'm a store clerk, not a doctor." Like it was perfect.
A little Star Trek reference.
Yeah. And they probably had to do that for the Star Wars one. So another thing I love about Trailer Park Boys is Jim Lahey. Do you have any Jim Lahey moments on the top of your head?
What it was is when every time he gets drunk and Rennie it's like trying to leave, and he's like, "No, don't go," or he's like trying to be like so like, tries to baby him.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Julian. Julian, come.
Sexy and yeah. That's why I wrote down. Do you remember the episode with the cheeseburger picnic? Randy throws a cheeseburger picnic.
God no.
That's where I had a cheeseburger party not too long ago, and that's what it inspired. That was the cheeseburger picnic. But Randy's holding a cheeseburger picnic to put out the news of the park that he's the associate trailer park supervisor now.
Uh-huh.
And
this was Lahey already got fired, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's like 6th season, episode 1 or 2. And he has Officer dang it, what's the Tim Johnson, Tom Johnson, Officer Johnson's there, and it's when Lucy and Sarah, or Lucy's like hitting on all the cops because she's high, but Jim Lahey comes in and he's hammered, and I wrote it down what he said. He dang it. He comes in and he falls down. He's drunk and he's saying, he looks at everybody and goes, "You don't have to listen to Pills Bandy Doughboy or Team Sexy." And Team Sexy he was referring to as Julian. It just like he's always like trying to talk trash on Julian, but he thinks he's sexy, so he's always bringing up sexiness. And there's
when
that.
When did Lahey become gay?
He's been gay,
but he was married to
Barb.
Yeah.
Oh, so there was the Christmas special. They that's when Randy and Lahey met, and Randy tried calling him Jim, and he's like, "You gotta call me Mr. Lahey or something." It was kind of weird. I was like, "What?" But that's when they met, and that's probably at some, because they've been gay since season 1, but I don't know if there's ever been a moment shared where Lahey is gay now.
Where it came out?
Yeah. Well, he did come out in the Bumblebee episode. Did you see Flight of the Bumblecocks? Or that was a different episode. The when he was being Indianapolis Jones, as Lahey called him, Indiana Jones. That's where they came out of the trailer and they were dressed up in cosplay, and then that's where Randy was like, "I've had enough of this. We gotta tell him, Mr. Lahey."
Oh, okay.
And that speaking of Randy again, there's that episode where he was filming Lahey being drunk, and Lahey's all like, "What, do you want a little dance, Randy? You want a little dance for the Lahey show?" And he goes, "I'm gonna do a wraparound." and he tried to he put his arm around his head and tried to drink the liquor, and he couldn't do it. He spilled it and threw it. I tried to do a wraparound once at a party, and I just like spilled it onto my shoulder. Do not try to do a wraparound, especially if you've been drinking, because I don't know if it's even possible.
I can't either.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yep.
Did you see the episode where the priest and his daughter came to Sunnyvale to sell Bibles for $60 a pop?
Damn, no, I don't remember that episode.
Dude, there's one part where Ricky's dad, Ray.
Yeah.
This is when I learned that Ray is just trash. He's a bad dad. He's like, Ricky comes up to him and goes, "Dad, I need to borrow some money." He goes, "I don't have any money for that, son." And then he spends $60 on a Bible. and then all of a sudden Ray has money, but only if Ricky sits down with him 1 hour a week and reads the Bible with him.
Damn.
But in that episode, near the beginning, the priest and his daughter come up to Bubbles, and they start talking to him about the Bible. And then the daughter says, "Have you read the Bible?" And then the Bubbles said, like, "Maybe I have, maybe I haven't." And then the priest goes, "Can you read, my son?" And Bubbles takes a breath and goes, "That depends. Can you go F yourself?" That's classic Bubbles right there. Have you ever seen any of the Ask Me Anythings they do?
No.
They did a bunch of behind the scenes, I think episode or season 11, where they went behind the scenes and people posted questions online for the characters to answer.
Uh-huh.
And they go to Randy on his day off, his cheat day. He's in the bathtub. He has his chest shaven, and there's Bubbles in the bathtub, and he's got a tray, and there's just cheeseburgers and onion rings and ketchup on this tray, like a ton of them. And the producer gives him the list of questions, and so Randy posted on the wall, and he goes, "So this first question's being asked by, I think it was John Doughboy." And he goes, "What kind of name is that? John Doughboy." And then he goes, "Good afternoon, Bo Bandy." And then Randy goes, He's friggin' dumb. It's morning." And he goes, do you ever feel bad about not seeing your greasy son. Do you miss him at all? And then Randy looks at the camera and goes, John. Like it's like he's a mom at that point, which I guess he could be, because there's that moment when he's talking to Lahey and he's like, I just want you to be proud that I'm your wife. And it's just funny because, like, in so many times when gay guys are asked who's the wife, who's the husband, and he's like, we're both husbands. But in this instance, Randy considers himself the wife. Oh, Rand.
What happens when Randy puts on a shirt?
Oh, he gets rashes. I think there's only been 2 times.
Okay, because the first one, what? He was forced to put on a shirt?
To get in the cop car, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And then, there was the time he put on... No, that wasn't the first time. The first time he put on the shirt was when he was trying to become friends with Julian, Bubbles, and Ricky. Mm-hmm. And he was wearing a wire. That's why he was wearing the shirt. Yeah. That's when Ricky wanted some jalapeno chips. And Bubbles like, it's jalapeno. Ricky's like, that's what I said. Jalapeno. Like, that doesn't sound at all the same. And then there was do you see the episode where it was the last season, or the last episode of the season, they had the train of weed going to Sebastian Bach?
Uh-huh.
And they end up on a boat in the river that borders America and Canada. And there was the Drug Enforcement Agency from America. There was Jim and Randy. And then there was the Rangers from, I think they were from America too. Or maybe they were Canadian. But all of them had charges to bring against them on the boat. So Ricky's like up there dictating where he's going to go. And he's going to pick whoever gives him the least.
The least charges?
Yeah. It's funny because they're all like, I don't know. You got to see it. It was funny. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
And then there was
it was what do you call it? Fucking my favorite character from Bubbles, his little hand puppet.
Conky.
Because Conky is the one that called. He's, I want to report.
Yeah. The phone that's in the woods.
Yeah.
And speaking of the FBI, like, Jim Lahey had a line that I've never heard before. Because then that season, did you see Bubbles as the Scorpion? Because the poster was put out because Bubbles stole Patrick Swayze's train. Uh-huh. And so they had a description of Bubbles and they drew a picture of him. It looks just like Bubbles. So he goes to JRoc and he goes, JRoc, I need a new outfit. And he gives him like the red leather jacket and a big old belt buckle and a cowboy hat. And Bubbles starts calling himself the Scorpion. And Jim and Randy see the poster for Bubbles. It's like a $50,000 reward. Uh-huh. So they're talking. They get to a point where they're all having a conversation with Julian and all them. And Jim Lahey says, Julian, you might be able to fool the FBI, but you can't fool the FB me. And I was like, dang, I love that line. I want to be able to say that someday. Yeah. But yeah, those are just and what about Bam?
Damn, whatever happened to him?
He died.
What?
Yeah.
Like died in real life or just died?
No, in real life.
That he died of?
Philadelphia Collins. He was like 400 pounds. He was the really big fat guy. Jacob's dad.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah, I think he died, and I didn't ask. I just figured it was because he was like,
he was overweight,
way overweight. Yeah, like in that episode where he's running the motel, and Ricky like is telling Bubbles, he's telling everybody, don't look at his gut. Whatever you do, don't look at his gut. He's really sensitive about his gut. Don't look at it. And the first thing they do when they go up there, Bubbles just starts looking at his gut. He's just, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. And that's another moment too when was it? Yeah, it was that same episode. Jim and Randy are up on the roof. They're tied down by a net. that the boys threw over him.
Yeah.
And Phil Collins hears something up there, and he's like, "Hey, is anybody up there?" And Jim's like, "Yeah, who's that down there?" And he goes, "This is Philadelphia Collins." Like, it's like you're in the trailer park. Like, everybody knows each other. Why'd you have to say your full name? This Mustard Tiger. You know who my favorite character is?
Who?
Well, he's not my favorite character. Randy is. But he was only in one season, and then he became his sister. Do you know who I'm talking about? Juan is in deep thought right now.
Hey, wait a minute. Wasn't that the cop guy who got married to his wife?
No.
And then, no, okay. I do remember some guy who all of a sudden appeared, but he was like the sister.
Yeah.
God, I can't remember his name.
Don. He was Bo Bandy's new assistant trailer park supervisor after Jim Lahey was done, and he was like the long-haired guy, and he's always saying weird spiritual things.
Yeah.
And he, like, the one time Bubbles got crabs, Don was like, "Oh, I simply just meditated them off of me. Like, I don't believe in hurting creatures of the earth." And I loved Don.
How did Bubbles get crabs?
Because they had the hookers show up to Steve Rogers' bachelor party. That Steve Rogers wanted to have a... Do you know who Steve Rogers is?
Yeah.
He's the reporter guy. He wanted to have a bachelor party, but he couldn't have it anywhere in town. Otherwise, his fiance would find out. So he heard about Julian's place. So they show up, and Julian's like kind of getting upset because the guys aren't spending any money. And then T comes up and goes, "Julian, we got a bunch of empty sheds, and we got some whores. We can make some money." And then it turns out a bunch of the whores had crabs, and those were Bubbles' sheds they were using. So that's how Bubbles got the crabs. Yeah, that was a good season. There's not... The only thing I didn't like about Trailer Park Boys was in the last couple seasons, it was getting like too much because they had the Netflix money. So I feel like their budget got big, and they just started doing all of this like crazy stuff, which it was still good. I just like the first few seasons were so good to me because it was
like who's the rapper?
JRoc.
JRoc when he meets his son.
Yeah. Oh, what was his son's name? McFlurry.
McFlurry.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a rapper also?
Yeah. Yeah, because the mom just showed up one day and goes, "I'm going to be a TV reality star in Toronto." And he goes, "You got to take your son now." And J-Rock's like, "Well, I guess I got a son now." Didn't question nothing. He just said, "Oh, I have a son now."
He's a black kid.
Yeah. That was another one of my favorite moments. It's something I wish that would pick up. I don't know how it would, but there's the scene where J-Roc is told that he's white. And he like has a mental breakdown. He doesn't know what to do because he really thinks he's black.
Is that where all of a sudden he like dresses like a white guy or something?
Yeah. He's sitting on his bed and he's got the striped shirt on, and his mom comes in and goes, "J-Roc, you got to be who you are. You know, you're suppressing yourself." And he's like, "But Mom, they told me I'm white." But there's the scene where he's masturbating in his room, and they come into his room, and he's like on his bed, and he falls off the bed, and he's like, "I'm getting changed. I'm getting changed, mother effer. I'm getting changed." He just keeps saying, I was getting changed." That's like what I refer to masturbating as. Or I try to do it as much as I can. Instead of like jerking off or masturbating, I say getting changed. Because the whole episode he's like, "I was getting changed," and then at the end he made a rap about getting caught getting changed. Yep, that's the first episode with Detroit Velvet Smooth, who was only in it for like 2 seasons. It was kind of that character was kind of weird because JRoc was ripping off his music. He made an album with his music. And then Detroit Velvet Smooth found out, came up to like beat up JRoc, and then he just moved in with JRoc. I thought that was kind of weird. Oh, did you see the one where they opened up the bar in the trailer park and it was all guys that showed up? And Julian's like, what the heck? Why are all guys here? But then Julie didn't care because they were making so much money.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that oh dang it, what's his name? Well, there's
Trevor and
Corey. I was thinking Travis. Yeah, Trevor and Corey ended up taking all the flyers to a bar called the Open Closet, and they just said they'd put all the flyers in there, and then there was the one guy that dressed up like a woman that they thought, or the two that they thought were women.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, Trevor's like, "Did you do anything, Corey?" And Corey's like, "Well, I didn't do anything." He goes, "So I'm not saying anything was done, but what I'm saying is I didn't do anything." Oh man. Well, we need wherever Zane is whenever he decides to show up, because I know he loves Trailer Park Boys and he loves.
It's his job that's
always
keeping him locked up.
No, they closed it down.
So where the hell's Zane?
Where? I don't know. He did say, "Let me know when you guys are doing it again." So maybe that I didn't let him know about this time.
Oh, okay.
So it's my fault. Sorry, Zane. But Zane loves Trailer Park Boys, and he loves. We'll have to do like a catch up with Zane.
Yeah.
Where we'll talk about a lot of the things, like introducing Zane.
And then one day when this coronavirus is over, we can get the band JJ guys in here too.
Yeah, and maybe, because Angel filmmaker, sorry, doesn't want to be within 6 feet of anybody.
Yeah, he's poor guy.
But anyways, any more words on Trailer Park Boys 1?
No, that's it for me.
Fantastic. Well, it comes to that time of the day when you, the listening viewer, can let us know what you want us to talk about or what you thought about Trailer Park Boys. Go ahead and tweet us at OIOPod. Leave us a comment on Facebook at OIOPod. Our email address is ohitsonpod@gmail.com. Or leave a comment on the blog and subscribe to the blog at blofx.com. The page for this episode is blofx.com/OIO18. And until next time, the microphone might be on.